You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome back to Parasearch Radio. This is the Aftershow Party on a Friday night. This is what you guys don't normally see. We thought we'd go live again because I've got a few people that joined us for the Aftershow Party. So in the house we have Miss Kaz Rooney. Good evening, Kaz. Whoop. Good evening, Kaz.
What do you mean good evening? I've been here for hours.
I know. And
because you missed, that's the worst bit.
Mark Manley's still in the house.
Hello, good evening.
We have been joined by Mr. Carl Hutchinson.
Good evening.
Oh, Mr. Debonair himself. We also have Taylor May Manley in the house.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
First ever on air. And Mr. Jay Lynch is lurking around in the background. I'm sure he will be joining us at some point as soon as he reboots his computer that crashed.
He had to put another 50 cents in the machine, didn't he?
What he needs to find is a good tech guy, and then he'll sort it out.
Strangely, you know, who knows a good tech guy? I don't know.
I have no idea.
No, I don't know.
No idea.
Carry on, you two. Carry on.
Well, we always have on a Friday night. We always tend to have an after-show party, which hasn't gone on for a few weeks, but it is back. And we thought we'd do a little pop-up show for you guys because so much has happened in the paranormal field this week. It has been crazy on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Everywhere has gone crazy this week. From sex with ghosts to the conspiracy theories. I can't get off the subject of sex with ghosts. I'm sorry, I'm stuck.
So you're having a sex with ghosts, especially if it's like a male ghost and a female human. Does the female turn around and say, "Is it in yet?"
No idea.
Can I just say something? I watched that interview because I was sat at work. I was happily working away from the paranormal community. My phone started lighting up like a Christmas tree. And I was looking at it. It was all comments about sex with ghosts. And I'm like, what the bleep is going on? So I had to wait until I got home about 6:30 to read all this thing and read this story about this lady that came on Good Morning this morning in the UK.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
And she'd given up men and she was sleeping with ghosts.
Yes.
I then put my glasses down and sat down and thought, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I just thought, what? So I listened to the interview and she was quite open. She tried it with men, living men, but she felt...
Living men? Really?
Living men,
sure, mate?
as a human. She looked all right. She didn't look ugly.
No, to be fair.
Have drinks and everybody would have probably said
if I was cast with a friendly ghost, I would have done.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not knocking her. But all of a sudden she came out with this famous statement. I've tried the living. I want to be with the men. My eyes went, what the bleep bleep? And I listened to this story on this morning, and I watched it on playback, and I'm like, what the... And she is adamant that she's given up relationship with the human male to sleep with, to get to a... How am I going to put this politely on this sort of show? She came to a point which was a point where...
She certainly came.
I know, let me sit on a bass speaker.
Yeah, come on.
Casper was very shocked.
Yeah, but the question after what she said about coming to a climax and coming, Philip Schofield went, what about the ghost?
I
And
know.
I'm happy if he was happy as well.
I hope, yeah.
Is that where ectoplasm comes from?
Well, we did all these jokes last night, so listen to the Monday Parasearch UK radio show. We talked about this quite extensively. Now, today...
Do not steal my thunder.
Sorry, honey. Today, there has been more facts about this. There's not just one ghost, there's 15. And she split up with her fiancé because he caught her with an alleged...
Excuse me, whoa. Before you say that. She caught her with what?
A shadow figure. He saw through the window her having sex with a figure, thought it was another man, split up with her because of this, and didn't believe that it was a ghost. So she was actually in a relationship when she started these psychical, ghostral, spiritual, sexual experiences. I read more about this today. I was like, oh my God. Oh, they've caught all of them, of course.
I'm going to put this out there, and it is past watershed, okay? And I mean this with greatest sincerity. Is she a chronic masturbator? Does she have problems? Did her boyfriend find out?
Well, her boyfriend found, well, her fiance found out.
Thank you. Is that why she's slightly boss-eyed and got curly hair?
She isn't, though. She's an attractive lady. But the name is Amethyst Realm is the lady's name.
Really?
Casper's had her realm, we know that.
I'm not being nasty. I can understand people that have these experiences that somewhere along the line something happened during the night.
Did he amethyst her?
But to be truthfully honest, to give up an opposite sex of the male or female relationship and then be in your mind physically,
yes,
where your body reacts to things. Jesus bloody Christ, you must have a hell of an imagination.
You know what? I'm so trying this tonight.
The thing is, though,
who needs a flashlight when you've got Casper the Friendly Ghost?
Kaz.
There's actually been an update on this where she's actually released a statement saying she wants to have a baby with a ghost.
A baby! A baby with a ghost!
A baby with a ghost!
Well, that puts phantom pregnancies into a whole new realm.
Goes out, can I just say, I'm happy to be their manager.
Same here. Yeah, me and you, Carl, will be their agents.
I will be 0 fee as long as we get that out there.
I'm prepared to change nappies and feed that baby.
Can I just say one thing? Can I just say one thing, Carl? If you had a manager, I'm sorry, we do not let a certain TV show get involved because I don't want baby girls chucking spanners and screaming. Yeah,
you know me, and that TV show would never get involved in it anyway.
No, exactly. So that was one thing. No.
I
was trying to move it on. So trying to move it on now.
Moving on.
She wants to have a baby
with
something has passed on and cannot. That's ectoplasm, love. It ain't anything else. And she wants to have a baby with that.
Well, I think what we should do is we should let you call her, Mark, and you can explain it.
I am trying.
I called her. I would quote lines from the bloody entity at her.
I am trying to actually contact Amethyst Realm to see if she'll come on for an interview. I am. No, in all seriousness. In all seriousness, I am trying.
Can you do a double show with the bridal doll, please.
Oh, screwed my nip.
Oh, I don't know how that would link in, but whatever floats your boat.
Both has a link somewhere along the line if you think about it.
I'm sure there must be a link somewhere. I am actually trying to get hold of Amethyst Realm. So, Amethyst, if you are hearing this, then I want you to come onto Parasearch Radio and talk to me about your experiences, because although we are laughing and having a joke about it, we are actually incredibly interested, and we think this is worthy of further investigation.
So, Amethyst, tell me, did Casper genuinely tickle your pickle?
That wouldn't be a question I would ask. I seriously would like you
Would be
on
one I
Parasearch
bloody
Radio
asked.
to do an interview with me, and in a
The biggest
serious
question-
manner, and
Terry,
discuss this situation.
Terry, can I just say something? The biggest question I would say is, you believe that you experience this physical attraction. One of the questions that I would say is, to be truthfully honest, to a point where it ended, how did you feel?
Satisfied, I feel, because she keeps going back. You know, I think I can answer that question for her.
Was it a point where, oh God, I need to find Casper? Or
She felt bloody knackered and needed a cigarette.
Exactly. Was it a fictional cigarette, or was it a
Physical cigarette.
exactly?
I don't know. As I say, I have so many questions I would like to ask this lady, and I put it out there one more time. Amethyst Realm, if by any chance you get to hear this or would like to come on, I would love to interview you on Parasearch Radio.
Pick up the phone, dial a number, speak to the sensible one. Who is Kerry?
Sometimes. Now, there is another thing that hit the media recently. Well, not the media, social media, should I say. And that is every location recently has been billed as the most haunted location in the world. Oh, Carl is face palming. We are face palmed.
I'll leave it to the other people that are there.
Yeah,
To be absolutely honest, my metal leg is the most haunted place in the world because it's the only thing that has a soul.
Jesus. Oh. I live with this.
So Taylor, you've been very quiet. So what is your take on the fact that every location is now billed as the most haunted in the country?
Honestly, I think that some people go there just to make a name for themselves and say that stuff is haunted. I'm sure that Carl can give some insight on that.
Nicely past the buck there.
Because
she's good.
She's very good.
People try and stretch the truth a lot, and I do believe that they do that to a lot of locations. But some locations are obviously considered very, very haunted and have a lot of activity in them.
Ladies and gentlemen, my daughter.
That's such a proud moment.
Can I just before anybody else says, can I just say one thing? Kerry.
Yes, baby.
Kick the other person off there and put that person on the show.
Marky's just told me to sack you, I feel. I think there's a let's sack Mark and bring Taylor May back in the house.
But Taylor just came up with a very good question.
She did.
Listen here, you bold twat. What was that?
There can be only one.
There can be
only be one, Baldy.
You know what? We've got people in the chat room. Paul Rook has just said, my flat is the most haunted flat in the world, haunted by a black monk, and it only costs £450 a night to investigate it.
Does that include alcohol?
I would think Paul would be quite happy to provide alcohol and nibbles, actually.
Then I'm sure there's people around the UK that would openly sell tickets for that.
And probably
I've been
for
to
tickets
Paul's
for
flat.
that.
I have been in Paul's flat, and there's no black monk in there. All there is, well, to be absolutely honest, the boss of Trident Paranormal.
Careful, he's your boss.
And a case full of
I never said
spirits.
anything.
Plenty of spirits, did you say?
And a case full of spirits.
Ah, a case full of spirits. Wow, that sounds like
But,
an after-show party, don't it?
Nobody likes a bum liquor.
Nobody likes
No, trust me, I know Paul very, very well, and I ain't going to lick that bum. So trust me. No.
That's fine.
A, my tongue ain't big enough, and B, I don't want to.
Okie dokie. Kaz, your point of view.
Well, I mean, basically, you've got all these locations that are taking in a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
But I think you're better going to the places that you seek out yourself.
May I say that although we live in, Kaz lives down the road from me, and we all live in Yorkshire, and there are a couple of places,
There are a few places.
Can I just
I'm just thinking about...
Where in lovely Yorkshire are you guys?
We're in Howden.
I'm in Doncaster.
He's in Doncaster. I'm 20 miles up the motorway in Howden, which is a little tiny...
I was born in Sheffield, and I lived up until about 17 in Sheffield, that area. So
I'm 5 minutes away from St. Cath's.
I'm more Yorkshire than I am Southern now. So.
What I was going to say is there are two particular places in Yorkshire. I won't mention them, but we all know who we're talking about. There's two particular places that have been rinsed to death.
Yeah.
They've had every single paranormal group and their dog in there, and it's just rinsed, gone.
Right,
you know?
what locations?
I will not mention those names whilst we're on the radio, but you know who we're talking about.
Oh, you've just been caned in the chat room.
Have been to two of those locations.
Oh my God, you've just been so kind in the chat room.
I just read that. Excuse me, Mr. Paul Rourke. Myself and Mistress Kaz there are organising places for next year. Just because we haven't booked them yet does not mean it's not there. So shove it in your pipe and stick it where the sun doesn't shine. Isn't that right, Kaz?
A little argument's going on over here.
No, Kaz has been round a few times, and we are sorting things for next year. We're going to do ghost walks and stuff next year.
We shall see. Anyway, so going back to the most haunted places in the world. There are certain places, aren't there, that are well overdone. Oh my God, I'm pinging all over the place. Sorry. I'm a little distracted. You know, well overdone. I can think of one in Essex. Yeah, I think it's Essex. It might be Norfolk. I don't know. Called The Cage. That's been over.
How many owners?
Well, not that many. She's been trying to sell it for a lot of times, but you know.
Yeah, but what's the hype that goes with the selling?
Oh, Kaz is gone.
I'm still here.
Oh, good.
I'm still here.
The Cage is a funny one. I went there, God, many, many years ago, before it became famous, before it was whatever you want to say about it. And we had an interesting night. We had stuff that happened, and we did stuff, and it was weird. But I wouldn't put that anywhere up in the top so many investigation places I've done. It's quite weird, and all of a sudden I've sat back since I've taken a bit of a back step from it and watched all these locations fly through the airwaves and see this is and all this sort of stuff. And the Cage gets mentioned. I know I have some very good friends of mine that are going there tomorrow night.
May I just say one thing? In all the years I've done the paranormal stuff, I mean, I've been to a lot of locations that a certain TV show has been to. Nothing. Flat. Dead. Nothing goes on. But there's been a couple of places I've been to with Trident and with Kerry, and there's been a lot of things that have happened.
That's because I'm there with my crystals. That's why.
We know all about you and your balls. There is the there's the Essex home. Is it Essex Counties home thing? That place is very, very active.
And the Essex home county thing.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I must admit.
Yes, I can't remember the name of it. It's basically like a little tiny village, completely enclosed, and you can go and visit all the old shops and all the old house and everything. And in there, that was really active. The where else was it? Oh, what was that fort we did? And we had the guys in the gun room. Once I went into sergeant mode. I was ordering them about. They all responded and was acting in it.
Mark, I can answer that question, and I wasn't there.
No, Kerry was.
Coal
so
House.
was Lynn.
Coal House.
Without four.
Without. Oh well.
No,
yeah.
I disagree. I thought Redoubt was poor. I thought Coal House was more active.
I would agree with Kerry. I've been to Redoubt Fort.
Oh no, it was Coal House. It was Coal House, the one with the
Coal
big
House
gun.
Coal
House Fort.
Coal House Fort. I investigated it the week before Most Haunted were there.
Yeah. Did you find a spanner anywhere?
No, because I didn't leave any spanners or anything lying around.
That wasn't there. That was at the prison. That was at... Oh, God. There was a prison.
No. I investigated Coal House Fort a week before Most Haunted did with the medium, the lady with the rasters.
Oh, yes. I know you're talking about. I can't remember her name.
This was literally... We went in there as a private people and we investigated it and we had the run of the whole fort. And I know personally that Most Haunted had 4 rooms. They only got investigated. Yeah, Coal House Fort, yeah.
They only have 4 rooms?
They only had 4 rooms because of signal, cabling, all that sort of stuff.
We had the whole location. It was freaking amazing.
Oh, Coal House Fort is amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but Most Haunted didn't show it to its best.
I'll tell you a little story. I'll tell you a funny story about Coal House Fort. There was a particular night that me and the girls, we were a bit bored. So we were sitting around, we were going, right, should we go out on a drive-by and just see what we can find? And so Kerry Ann Carter, you know Kerry Carter? She, amazing lady. She came up with, you can do the grounds of Coal House Fort. We won't be able to get into the fort, but we can go into the grounds. So we went out and we were in the grounds. And, you know, bearing in mind, Kerry Ann's very psychic and a medium. She wasn't picking up a lot. There was me working, and I think there was Carly and Daisy was with us that night. There was the 4 girls. Anyway, we've walked around the fort and we've done our thing, and we've not really had a lot of activity. Anyway, we stood outside this particular thing and particular area, and then all of a sudden this weird light lights up the whole of like a window in Coal House Fort. And we all, like, 3 of the girls screamed and ran. And I'm like, what was that? What was that? And I'm like, I didn't even see it. I was like, why are you running away? Why? Anyway, this light lights up again. Absolutely freaked a lot of us out again. And it turned out to be an investigation team inside the fort taking photographs. And we got freaked out by that. And at that point we went, oh, God, because we've been like laughing and joking and, you know, as you do, not thinking anyone's around. And we were like, oh, no, they're going to think they've caught EVPs and it's us lot. Oh, bless them. Anyway, we left the premises quite quickly because obviously we're respectful of other teams. And yeah, that was one of the many midnight adventures that us girls used to go out on. I miss those days, actually.
It was cool.
Start it again, then.
Sorry?
Do it again.
Oh, I'm going to have to nag the girls, aren't I? Clearly.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I can join in.
You're in bloody Yorkshire. What the hell are you talking
Yeah,
about?
you used to have
That's
Lynn's.
fine.
You used to have Lynn's and myself, you know, who's just woken up over there. Look.
Oh, bless her. Hi, Linz. Anyway, there was another night when me, you, Daisy, went out to Epping Forest on what's it called? An BHOC or ad hoc investigation. We just went out and just grabbed our kit and went out. We went to Epping, didn't we?
That's right, yeah.
That was icy.
Is that when the escaped prisoner was wandering about the woods? Yeah. There's Lindsay over there, and there's Daisy in the car, and the constable of the forest has come up to us, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Blah blah blah, and we're like, "Oh, we're here. And we're pre-checking a ghost. What we're going to be doing." He's like, "Yeah, that's all right, but be very, very careful because there is an escaped prisoner out here in the woods." And we're talking middle of winter, wasn't it?
Oh, it's freezing. He's like, absolutely freezing.
And he's there going, "There's an escaped prisoner, and he's out here, and he's in bare feet." And we're like,
"Can I just interrupt? Was it a scene out of Only Fools and Horses where you took an imaginary pool cue and won some money off him?"
No, this was dead serious. The whole day had been a bit of a weird day as it is. It was one of those kind of random days where nothing was going to plan. So we ended up, me and Daisy had gone out for a day. We went to Hampstead. We were supposed to be going on a walk thing with Spooky Isles, and we never got there. And we had lunch, and then we was like, okay, so what are we going to do? So we ended up talking about it and going, so we'll go to the Clink Museum. Didn't make it to the Clink, so we ended up at Mark's house, which is somewhere completely different, or at the time was someone completely different. Got to Mark's house, and then he turned up on a motorbike, where we was like, two of us, and we was like, well, clearly we're not all going to fit on the motorbike. And then, it was a really strange evening. And
Sam, when he said, we've arrived, and I thought you literally just wanted directions, and I came down.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise you weren't in Daisy's car.
Yeah.
And there's me on the motorbike waiting for
completely random.
to show them back, and you guys come walking out, and you're like, well, we can't possibly get on your bike.
That was, exactly. That was the day where I was stood there, and I had a cigarette, and I thought, you know what? I'm actually going to put it out and put it in the bin rather than flick it, which is what I'd normally do. And as I was stood there, 2 seconds later, somebody got done by the cigarette police for throwing a butt. And I was like, oh, my God, my intuition was well on that night. Anyway, we ended up in Epping Forest doing this ad hoc investigation. And, this happened. The games master person came up to us. Games master.
Do you mean the constable of the forest?
That's the one. Him. He came up to us and said this about this guy that was, running loose in the forest with no shoes. Escaped convict guy. And this is a true story. True story.
And we both went
freezing.
Carrie went into the forest.
And Mark went, fine, no worries, we'll watch ourselves, and went off. And Daisy and Lindsay were locked themselves in the car.
Going in there. And they locked themselves in the car.
Oh, the nights, just those random nights are sometimes the best nights you can have, aren't they?
I think that is a great thing to people out there that would understand it, is those weird nights where you're not going on a paid thing, you're just turning up at location and these weird and crazy things happen. I've done several locations over the years where you just turn up and you end up, and not being nasty, several locations in Kent, I've learnt the names personally and first name names of police officers in the Kent area that end up coming to locations and going, oh, hello, Carl, what are you up to tonight? And it's just one of those things. It's just like you go out there, it's like you go to Pluckley.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Pluckley. We've been Pluckley.
Yeah, Pluckley is obviously one of those locations, and I've been to Pluckley because it's right on my doorstep, and you end up going to the Screaming Woods, and you don't park in the car park where Screaming Woods is because that's dogging car park. But you have to walk through it, and you have.
And this comes from the guy who was the all-knowing sage with the bald head and baseball cap.
I didn't understand that because you turned into Metal Mickey.
I said, and this coming from the all-knowing sage with the bald head and baseball cap.
So, Kaz, have you done that? Have you grabbed your mates and just gone out on an ad hoc? And had a funny experience?
Yeah, we went out literally the last...
She's grabbed quite a few things.
Excuse me?
Hey? Sorry, what?
I went out with two guys in January this year. the 2 investigators from Sheffield, they asked me to join them.
That's called menage a
Which
trois.
I did. There's a World War II medical bunker in Sheffield. But you've got to scale this big wall to get
I know it.
By rope. I'm only 4'10". I'm not going up this roast. So I just said, I'm going to go and sit in the car. So I went and sat in the car, and then a police car pulled up about 10 minutes later. Asked if I was okay, and I said, yeah, I'm fine. I'm sitting in the driver's seat. I don't even drive. So I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and then about 10 minutes after they left, I looked around and there's 2 police cars, and there's a big van that says police dog on it. I'm thinking, oh shit.
I think that comes down to it, really, is...
He literally yanked the door open and said to me, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
Tell us before we arrest you. And I said, well, what are you going to arrest me for? Googling and drinking tea? Because that's all I was doing.
Kaz, I think that is one of the most interesting things, and one of probably the most potential things that you could actually have and talk about in the paranormal field, is these moments that aren't serious but are kind of funny. I'm sure there's every single team out there, whether they're the public, whether they do private, whether they are, I'm looking for TV or whatever, and they have these funny moments. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's you're going to get to a point where you're going to go, oh my God, that really happened.
The thing is, what had actually happened was, because I had my phone in my hand, I texted 2 guys and said, you need to come back round here because Sheffield's finest are here. They didn't get what I meant for about 5 minutes. When the penny dropped, they can run him back round. The policeman watched all the footage on the cameras, and then the policeman who'd actually locked me in the car let me back out the car, and I went, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to frighten you, love. And started laughing, and I thought, you're such a prat.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what,
such a prat.
Has Kerry told you about our dogging days?
Oh my God, I knew that was coming up.
Kerry told you about our dogging days.
I actually thought you were going to mention that.
Look, have you noticed I said, has Kerry told you about our dogging days? And all of them go,
well,
we went to Cash's Well. We went to Cash's Well, didn't we?
No. Oh,
yes,
well,
we did.
That was one occasion. Yeah, that was one occasion. Oh,
you tell me about the other one. You tell me about the other one.
Yeah.
You tell me about the other one. Go on.
We went to Hockley Woods, again, ad hoc investigation, and we turned up in the car park, and as we pulled into the car park, a police van pulled in behind us, and we got out, and obviously we're kitting up and stuff, and then all these policemen jumped out and started like shining torches into cars and stuff, and then they approached us, and they were like, "What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing here?" And we were like,
"Go on an investigation.
We're going to go on a paranormal investigation." And they were like, "Okay, you can go." And off we went. And they were after doggers. And then we was at another site, which was called Cash's Well, which, again, another ad hoc investigation. And no police this time.
Oh, God, no. There was a very dodgy, fat, sweaty guy leaning out of a Peugeot Switch 306. And he was literally like, as we drove past. There's myself with my missus and Kerry and another lady in the car. So there was 3 ladies and myself in the car. And he's looked at us and he's gone, "Hello, ladies." And we've sort of looked at him and gone, "Stuff that." And and we parked down the road. And then it turns out it was one of the most well-known dogging sites in Essex.
We didn't know that. Oh, man, that was so embarrassing. I was like cringe all over.
I've done something similar at a very, I'm going to say famous, because it is quite famous on the paranormal circuit. It's been on a couple of TV shows where I've turned up to do something. And I've turned up, I've parked in the car park, and I was waiting to that moment in time. Next thing, I could see flashy lights, and a vehicle turns up behind. And this butch officer does the old on the windscreen. So I go, bzzz, and he goes, can I ask you what you're doing? I went, yes, officer, I'm just about to do a paranormal investigation. And as I'm saying paranormal investigation, the officer goes, oh, you're so-and-so. And it wasn't something to do with me, but it was the name associated. And all of a sudden the officer was like, oh, that's fine. And shook my hand, and took me 25 minutes to 45 minutes to get rid of the police officer with his flashy lights before I can actually enter the building. Because this is the strange thing. This is the thing that really interested me, is no matter whether you believe in the paranormal, whether you don't believe in the paranormal, or whether you are skeptical about the paranormal, everybody has a ghost story.
Yes.
And everybody, once you say what you're doing, and they take it on a professional level, people will suddenly open up and go, oh, you know, and this is what this police officer did. I didn't want to talk to this police officer, but he spent, the guy that was supposed to be opening the location where I was going, stood there, and this copper is going, oh, I did this, then we did this, we've seen this, and I'm standing there, yeah, great, but can I go that way? And it was just one of those weird things. There's everybody out there, whether you're a believer or a non-believer, has a story.
I agree. My mum even came, I was Christmas shopping the other day, and she didn't say a word all day, and then we had coffee, and she went, I had an experience the other day, and I was like, oh, okay. And she told me about an experience she had. I'm not going to go into it because it's personal, but even she sort of like had an experience, and it was really strange to hear my mum, who's the most normal non-believer going, have talked to me about an experience she had. So you're dead right. Everybody's had an experience of some form.
Kaz, have you had that where somebody who's absolutely poo-pooed everything you said, then all of a sudden goes, but by the way, I've experienced this?
Well, what has actually happened was, my father, it's well documented, I've said it many times, my dad tried to convince me from very young that ghosts didn't exist and spirits didn't exist. So we had this big battle going on for years and years. When I was having my third child, I didn't want to have Melody in Ireland. I wanted to go back to Scotland, which I did. Went back to Scotland. I was there for 2 weeks. I had Melody the first week I was there. And me and my dad got into this really silly argument. And it was about something really stupid. And he went, well, you can go back to Northern Ireland and you can take your damn ghost with you. And I went, I can take my ghosts with me. And he went, yeah, because they're always where you are. And he would never, ever say that. He spent years and years telling me they didn't exist. And then all of a sudden, they existed.
Cass, can I ask you whereabouts in Northern Ireland were you?
I was in, well, my husband at the time was in a soldier. So we're in an army camp in Ballykinley.
Oh, yeah, Ballykinley, yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were not being nasty, you were pretty much one-to-one location, really, where you weren't involved in the outside world.
Well, we could, I mean, obviously we could go outside and whatever, but you had a lot of very strict rules. Yes, you did have a lot of very strict rules.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, the worst experience I ever had was in the first house we moved into in that camp in Ballykinley.
Mm-hmm. So, obviously, you're staying in something which is what I would describe as close to the border or whatever. What you're saying is knowing the area. Do you think there is something because of the amount of... How do I put this in a polite way? And I do apologise if I don't. The hostility side of being north and south. Do you think that has a relationship to the activity in the house?
Well, yes and no. The thing is, my husband kept complaining someone was shoving him down the stairs. Now, he had really big feet. He's size 11 feet. So I kept saying, it's your big feet. You're just running downstairs too quick. But then our 5-year-old daughter kept waking up in the night screaming that someone was coming out of the hatch in the bedroom. I had our son, and he was about 3 weeks old. I was walking down steps after changing beds and whatever upstairs, and I felt somebody shove me down the stairs, and I was carrying the baby in my
What
arms.
type of house was it?
It was a semi-detached.
So a run-of-the-mill,
Yeah.
2 up, 2 down type of house?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the funny thing is...
This is the thing that interests me, is you look at active locations and people say the most haunted places, and you look at 30 East Drive, you look at other places, and they seem to be these most tranquil 2 up, 2 down places.
Yeah.
But there's so many stories about different locations that don't hit the news thing.
But the thing is, Carl, we moved out of that house. We made up a lot of excuses. We moved out of that house into another house. The couple who had actually moved into the house after us asked David, the guy was actually a chef for the Officer's Mess, and he asked David if anything weird had happened in the house. They've been getting the same things. And when they'd done a bit of digging, they found out that it was actually an Irish guard who'd hung himself in the attic.
Okay, so it wasn't the building; it was what was situated on the land.
Yeah.
Well, which I think that is something which I know myself, yourself, and Kerry, and if Matt ever appears back on there and disappears wherever he's gone, we'll probably agree that is. Sometimes you get activity at a location which has nothing to do with the property, the building, or whatever, but it happens to do with the ground, the physical minerals in the earth, if that makes sense.
Oh, hell yeah.
No, yeah, and I think that is 100%. It's what happens, what is dripped in, what is all that energy, that emotions, everything that is possibly when somebody gets shot, died, killed, or just dying, bleeds into the land and drips down to the wherever it goes. Mm-hmm. I believe that will play replays.
I agree with you. I'm with you on that.
And this is from a hardened ghost hunter.
We've had a question in the chat room.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Right. I'm curious. Have any of you ever been to the site where Borley Rectory once stood? It has a rather fascinating history. Now, we have talked about Borley Rectory on Parasearch quite often. I have. I've been to Borley, Borley Village. I have been there.
I've been to Borley Church.
Yeah, I've been there. And
I've held blocks or building blocks when I was talking to Richard Felix, and I've held an actual brick of Borley Rectory in my hand.
Well, one of my close friends is a guy called Eddie Brazil, who is an authority on the subject of Borley Rectory. He is awesome. So if you don't know who he is, he wrote a book called The Definitive Guide to Borley Rectory, I believe it's called. And he is awesome in his knowledge. And he has a cornerstone from Borley Rectory and a bell. And he's just awesome. And Ashley Thorpe made a film, which I interviewed on the Spirit Dimension recently, regarding Borley Rectory. And I have been to the village. Now, it's a very small village, but it has a very definite energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I completely agree with you, Kerry. It's a place that has a lot of. I'm an investigator, and I'm a pretty much, when it comes to feeling, I'm probably an amateur. I've probably been in the field a long time than most people. And I've done kit and I do equipment, but when you come to a location where you get out of a car or a vehicle and you get hit with that feeling inside.
I've only ever felt that in one other place. I've only ever felt that in one other place, which was Avebury. And like, the only way I can explain it is, when you go to a movie and you've got the sound thing, which, oh God, is it HDX? Sound.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
Where it goes, and it reverberates through your soul. I felt that in two places so far in my life. One was at Borley and one was at Avebury. And literally with Avebury, there was levels. There was like, it verbed through your soul. That's the only way I can explain it. I felt that energy. Crazy. Some people would call it.
I must admit, when the rectory has been burnt down for many, many years. The church is still there. The village is still there, and sadly, Halloween, it becomes one of these places which gets locked down, a bit like Pluckley, but not so much. But it gets locked down because everybody wants to go and do the 3 circuits of the church and says the words. Yeah. And the devil is supposed to appear and all that sort of malarkey or whatever it is.
There's another one which is Canewden, which gets locked down now at Halloween.
Yeah. But I've experienced Borley, but on a non-heightened excitement. I've been there, to the pub. I've been to the local pub, had a drink in the pub, spoke to the guys have taken me out and showed me, because I've been quite local, obviously being in Kent. Had a bit of a laugh, went back and had a bit of a laugh, and then came back. Never done anything on film-wise, but it was quite interesting because we were getting things that were hitting the equipment that I deal with on a day-to-day, which was quite strange.
Yes.
But I wouldn't put that down to the paranormal because I didn't have enough time to do any bass lines or anything like that. The equipment was acting strangely. Do I believe it's haunted? No, I don't believe it's superly haunted. Like I don't believe Pluckley is super haunted. I think there's a lot of replays going on in the place. Whether it's replays in Borley, whether it's replays in Pluckley, whether it's replay in any other famous locations. I think there's a lot of non-interaction going on in the sites. That's my own personal opinion anyway.
Well, both of those locations that I felt that in were crossroads for ley lines, energy lines, you know. And we haven't heard from Taylor May recently. So, Taylor, what's your take on this?
Honestly, I feel that sometimes people can get very mistaken by, the electromagnetic forces that are in a house. Like, people can consider that
paranormal.
There we go. People can consider that paranormal forces, trying to talk to them or trying to communicate. But I do believe that most things, whether you can consider them paranormal or not, I do believe that they are mostly real. Like if you look into them, they do seem very like they're real. Honestly, that's what I believe in.
Kaz?
I think there's a lot of places that people need to explore. People actually need to stop going to... Yes, I know there's a lot of places that we all go to that we all want to investigate, but they need to actually just get up, grab a camera and go out.
Yeah.
You do that quite often, don't you, Kaz?
Yeah. Yeah, and there is a lot of places. I mean, there's a lot of places in Sheffield, there's a lot of places in Doncaster there's, I mean, the ultimate place to go and grab your camera and just take off because you have no Wi-Fi, you have no signal for your phone, you have nothing. Pendle Hill is the place you need to go. You literally just need to grab your camera and go. That's all you need.
If you think about it, there's a lot of undiscovered places that you can go in and you can discover, because we keep repeating ourselves, and not just us, but other paranormal communities keep repeating themselves and going to the same places. But we need to broaden our horizon, and we need to go to other places and say, yeah, this has paranormal activity, or this doesn't.
But there's this thing, Taylor, where paranormal groups. This is the thing. If you are running a group, you will find that you get members who are asking you to go to specific places. So to fulfill what they need, you need to go to them places. There's a place that I particularly wasn't planning to go back to this year, but everyone's asking me to go back to. And what's actually happened is I'm booking 3 nights to go back there because there's that many people want to go back there.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back necessarily, but they do.
But again, we go back to where we started in this show with things billed as the most haunted location in the UK. And it does attract the hype and it does attract the interest. And people want to go back there. But when they go back there, they go, oh, it must have been a quiet night. Is it a quiet night when you have that many teams saying it's a quiet night? Or is it haunted? I don't think. I think a lot of I think a lot of locations are based on hype.
Yeah, definitely.
I must admit, Kerry, I would completely agree with you. I think there's so many locations that get bandied around the paranormal community. And they use those famous words that the most, or the most active, the this, that, and the other, or this, that, and the other, and that is wholly 100% aimed at. This is a thing which I've discussed many a times on different shows. Yours being one of them, my shows, whatever I want to say is, you've got to take a pinch of salt until you've actually been there and experienced it for yourself.
You have to experience it for yourself.
Absolutely. Because, yes, I live 5 minutes away from the alleged most haunted location in England, Pluckley, in Kent. Or I go to places such as... just off the top of my head, about 3 locations I can think of. The Ancient Ram at Watton-on-Thames or whatever it is. Or Woodchester Mansions. But I think you've just got to take it... If you're coming into it and you're interested in the paranormal and you watch the TV or you're looking at social media and all of a sudden this location gets bandied around... You're going to go, oh, hello, I want to experience that. And you pay your hard-earned cash to go and see it or experience it. And you could have a dull night or you could have a great night.
Well, I mean, I did a location that is very famous not so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I could literally have crawled into the beds and gone to sleep.
Would that be a 3 and a 0 with an E?
No, not that one. It would be the one that is... the other one that's in Gloucestershire.
Okay, you've got 3 faces that just have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. The Ancient...
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The Ancient,
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. You know I'm talking about the Ancient Ramen.
Yeah, I just said the Ancient Ramen at Watton-on-Thames.
It literally was so flat I just thought, well, I can crawl into bed and go to sleep.
Yeah, but this is the thing about these locations and about the history behind things. There's a lot of links between activity that happens at certain locations when certain people are there, and there's certain things that doesn't happen when certain people aren't there. The ancient ram being one of them. Obviously, old man Jeffries. He's sadly now in a care home. He's not living at the home, but the house is still open for investigations.
Don't get me wrong, it wasn't completely dead.
Yeah, but the thing you got to think about, Kaz.
It picked up after midnight, but
but the thing you got to think about is,
flat.
Are these locations more active when a certain trigger is there?
Ah.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
There was a certain group of people who left, and then it picked up.
Ah.
Yeah. You're talking about certain people that were there that probably...
There was guests who were there, and when they left, it picked up.
Yeah, we're talking certain energies which we've all experienced in time on investigations, whether it's positive, negative, whatever. But going to certain locations, certain famous locations, if we're going to talk about famous locations, like the Ancient Ram or Woodchester Mansions or the Galleries of Justice or Mary Close's Close in Scotland, all these amazing places which I've been to. And that have got so much written history, so much activity that is documented that has happened. But it all depends on the right time. And I believe this completely heartily depends on the sun, the moon, the time, the temperature, whatever you want to say. Some sort of trigger that will activate the playback, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I mean, you have to have the right mix of people there.
Yeah. But that's the thing with public investigations is I did public investigations for over 10 years. You could be going to, in your eyes, the most amazing locations you've ever experienced, but you're doing the same things time and time again. You're doing the same experience. You're going to get nothing back because all you're doing is going through the motions.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean the location's not active. It just means whatever's watching or feeling or whatever you're not triggering, and that's it.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you could go into one place, Carol. I can go into another.
Mm-hmm.
You could get nothing in the place you go to, and I could get loads, and we can switch round, and I could get loads in the place that you've just been to, and you could get nothing. Do you know what I mean? It just depends on.
Absolutely. There's got to be, for the amount of times yourself and me have been doing this over the years, we've probably overlapped on several locations.
Oh, yeah.
Over time, where you've experienced something, I've gone, that's flat, or I've experienced something, you've experienced stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say is that when it comes to this industry, you can't click your fingers and say we're going to get activity. No matter how
it's not going to happen like that. It's never going to happen like that.
You can't do it. But it also relies on the energy, or as Kerry will probably say something on this, is about the energy that is brought up by the group.
Yeah.
And whether it's residual, whether it's intelligent, and all go down those lines of different types of hauntings, as everybody does over these years. But I could probably name 5 or 6 locations, and I can guarantee you'll go, no, nothing happened, or it was this, that, and the other. But the times I've been there, and I've been lucky to be there at those particular precise moments in time when things have happened. This is what makes people pay their money, get their gander up, get them to go into situations time and time again, because things happen, and you could go on your first investigation. Okay, I'll put this out to yourself and Carrie. Remember your first public investigation where you had no interest in the paranormal, but you went along. What was the trigger that got you going on to your next one?
I didn't have one. I've always been interested in paranormal.
Yeah, You're different. You're fucking weird.
Yeah, but I have to say, my first investigation was, before I got into the field today, I went, my friends, I wanted a most haunted experience, and I went to Avenue House with haunted happenings, and went with my friends for my 40th birthday. That was a long time ago now.
And what were you experiencing? What did you? Okay, you've booked this thing for your 40th. You don't look a day over 30. I will just say.
Thank you.
But
you're such a charmer.
Obviously you're saying 40th because it's obviously in the past.
A lot in the past.
But what did you? Okay, somebody said, right, tell you what, this is what we're going to do. What did you go? Okay, what brings that interest to you? Why are you spending money that you've earned to go on this sort of thing? What triggered that in here to say, right, I want to go on to this thing?
No, I tell you what it was. I'd always had that interest in the paranormal, the crystal. You know, I've always had that interest. What triggered it for me was seeing it, that you can do it on TV from shows. Then I wanted to actually go out and experience that for myself, and that's what triggered it for me. When I
so what you're saying is that there was this point in your life you watched the shows. Mm-hmm. We're not going to go into what shows it was, because 9 times out of 10 everybody will openly admit to what shows they watched, because being in the UK at that time there was only a certain number that were viewed.
Yeah.
So you watched this. Yeah, most of them.
It was most haunted.
I'm happy to say I sat in the crowd at Dover Castle.
I can't believe
I
paid 25 quid to sit in Dover Castle to watch a hazy screen for 3 and 4 hours, freezing cold in the cold, and never saw jack shit, but I had a great time.
Exactly. I went on that investigation. Looking back with different eyes, not a lot happened. But when we had an experience through the event, which was great. You know, I was still sceptical, but, you know, I didn't know what I know now. If I did that investigation now, I would do it. I would see it differently. But at the time, going back in time, it was great. I loved it. And then when I had the chance to go out on a private investigation, which was my second...
What triggered that?
Somebody saying to me, I want you to bring crystals into the paranormal field. And I was like, hell yeah.
So you basically have been on a number of public... Sorry to take over the question, sorry.
No, I went on one. I went to Avenue House. One investigation.
You went on one public investigation.
One public investigation.
And your friend said, let's do this another way. Can you bring your crystals in?
Yeah, Kerry Ann. I'll put all my paranormal journey is all down to Kerry Ann Carr.
Really?
That would explain a lot. Because that lady is amazing, and it's a sad miss that she's not active in the field at the moment.
I agree. Trust me, I bug her on a regular basis. Trust me.
Yeah, she's been on my timeline quite a lot tonight, and I agree with everything that's said. But so I'm just interested that you've had this thing, you've gone on an event, because I can tell you my first time. I've always been interested in the paranormal. I've always been interested in the weird and wonderful things. But certain things in your life happen. And then I got to this stage where a friend of mine went for, it's Sid's birthday. We're going to our local pub where there's a paranormal investigation. I went, yeah, cool. So I paid my money. And then about 2 weeks later, I got an email back saying, sadly, the investigation's been cancelled. We're now going to redo it to Michelin Priory on such and such a date. And I was the only one out of the group of 7 people that was available for that night. So I managed to talk a friend of mine into coming along to Michelin Priory. I've never been to Michelin Priory. That's my first and only time I've ever been to Michelin Priory. I'd been interested in the paranormal to a point, and I experienced things. And I was like, okay, and I was second guessing everything. And it got to that point where I was like going, that's not right, that's not right, that's not right. And I sort of like took a major step backwards. And it's just weird. And I'd just like to understand from your point of view how you guys got into it.
Well, as I say, that's sort of, I've always had that interest. I started reading, rather than like the usual teen magazine, I started reading a magazine. God, I can't even remember what it was called. I've still got all the copies of it. I'm sure it's just called Paranormal Magazine. And I just started reading stuff. And then when I started watching Most Haunted. And then basically, I said, I was single at 14. I said, because all my friends were like, let's go out on the Raz. I went, you know what? I kind of don't really want to do that. I kind of just want to go out and do something that's interested me for a long time, which was paranormal investigation. And that's my first ever investigation. And then I set up the business, Crystals and Minerals, and got into the spiritual side. And then, as I say, Kerry Ann came along and was put a shout out on social media for people to join her paranormal team. And I messaged her. I met her at a spiritual convention. And then I didn't know her. And I literally just sort of like messaged her off the hook. And she was like, you work with Crystals and Minerals? I was like, yeah. She was, I'd love to bring that into the field. And that is where I started. And that's going back, 3 years ago now. And so a lot of my journey is all thanks to Kerry Ann Carter for my journey. And since then, I sort of took the reins and ran with my personal journey. Kerry Ann's still part of that, but not as intrinsic as she once was. But I can't deny the influence she had and the confidence she gave me right at the beginning. That's where I started with this.
I think everybody has that moment in time that is their trigger point.
Yeah.
I think Kaz will hopefully say there is something that was her trigger point.
Well,
and
I think
same with Mark and his daughter. There's a trigger point which we'll get onto in a second. But Kaz, what's your trigger point?
Carl, we're actually running over time on the pop-up show.
Sorry.
We're now into over an hour. I think we're going to wrap this up. We can continue this conversation after the show. Thank you so much, Kaz, for joining us again on the pop-up show.
problem.
Thank you so much, Taylor May, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Carl, for joining us.
No problem.
I love you all. Thank you so much, and take care and good night. This is the kind of conversations we have after show party. It goes on and on, which it probably will now until the small hours of the morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and take care. We will see you on Sunday night at 9 p.m. for the Spirit Dimension with Andy Mercer talking about John Dee. Good night.
Thank you for listening.
Good night.
Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.